Hey, everybody.
Again, everyone, welcome to our second lecture on specific populations, this time focusing on groups for adults and older adults as part of our group skills and substance abuse counseling course. At this point, you should know to review the chapters for this week before viewing the lecture, as it is intended to supplement your reading. By the end of the week, you should be able to identify and describe the key principles in working with groups for adults and older adults. As we talk about adults this week, we are covering a wide range here, from 20 to 65 years old. Young adults can be considered those between 20 and 40, and those individuals between 40 and 65 are classified as midlife. Within this population, we have a huge variety of experiences and many different levels of physical, mental, social, and emotional maturity. Once again, a knowledge of human development is helpful as we consider that young adults tend to be dealing with issues related to identity and intimacy, while adults in midlife tend to be dealing with issues related to generativity, a time when individuals consider the contributions they make to the world. It's worth noting that men and women have shown to approach generativity differently, as do adults with special needs and developmental concerns. Keeping in mind all of these things, there are a wide variety of groups that exist for adult members. In fact, adults have the largest pool of groups from which to choose. Adults may participate in work and task groups as part of their job, volunteer, or community activities. As you view the lecture, you may be able to think about the big groups in which you are a member, and chances are, if we were to take a poll, the responses would vary from task groups to psychotherapy groups and everything in between. Setting up groups for adults demands attention to the themes and needs of the members of the group. We'll look at a few different examples of groups for adults on the next slide, and we'll soon see that the variety is too great for us to draw any simple conclusions on an appropriate size or other specifications for groups for this population. The size depends on the type of group, the purpose, the setting, etc. Instead, as I mentioned, themes and needs are a helpful way to frame the discussion. We can understand themes to describe the particular interest or concern that a group focuses on, whether it be a group centered on career counseling or alcohol use. In order to be effective for members, the topics in theme-based groups must reflect the real-world situations and stay connected to teaching life skills or lessons related to that subject area. Member needs are the second important consideration when conceptualizing groups for adults. You must consider what are the potential barriers or challenges that members face. Regardless of themes and needs, however, all groups that serve adults must be clear regarding their purpose, membership criteria, rules, and expectations, as well as being sensitive to legal, ethical, and multicultural issues. When working with adults, the role of the leader also varies according to group type, membership, and format. Some leaders, for instance, those providing leadership for psychoeducational groups, whose purpose is to impart information or facilitate skill building, must plan carefully what they're going to do and structure their groups accordingly. In a counseling or psychotherapy group, however, leaders tend to be guided by their theoretical orientation, and leaders might approach the same group scenario in different ways based on the counseling theory that they endorse. Certain agencies and staff may adopt a specific approach to working with clients, for instance, cognitive behavioral theory, and the theory and research for this approach are what guides the leader in developing and implementing the group. We've already explored the skills that leaders use in their work, and before beginning a group for adults, leaders will want to review these skills and make sure that they have mastered them. On page 278 of your text, the author begins an exploration of studies on the outcomes of groups for adults. The pages that follow provide some helpful information regarding the research that has been done on the effectiveness of some specific groups with attention to college students and adults in midlife. Let's take a moment to talk about group work with college students. Working with college students in the group context has been shown to be quite effective. Many college students struggle with similar issues related to fear of failure, mild depression, anxiety, self-esteem, body image, and interpersonal relationships. Research indicates that the most effective groups for college students are closed format groups that run 10 to 12 sessions. Psychoeducational groups for college students can address issues like self-esteem, public speaking, depression management, stress management, disordered eating, and academic support. Additionally, psychoeducational groups can be helpful for college students who are outside the traditional age range and can offer information and resources for their academic, social, and emotional needs. Additional examples of groups found on the college campus may include those for students who are survivors of sexual assault, students experiencing homesickness, suffering grief or loss, or are exploring issues of sexual orientation. With respect to adults in midlife, your text explores a variety of groups, including those for adult children of alcoholics, victims of abuse and survivors of suicide, groups specifically for men and for women, groups for couples, families, and people who are divorced, widowed, and remarried. You can refer to your text for more information, but regardless of differences in the specifics, all of these groups require attention to the issue of membership, structure, goals, and evaluation that we've been exploring in the past weeks. The strengths and limitations for working with adults should be familiar to you from previous readings and lectures. Some of the strengths include the cost effectiveness of having one or two group leaders working with people during a single time frame, and other strengths are related to the opportunity for members to change unwanted behaviors and learn new information and skills in a supportive environment. One limitation in group work with adults is scheduling. For children and for adolescents, the school setting is conducive to coordinating member availability and for providing a convenient location for members to meet. For adults, however, it can be challenging to find a time and a place that works for all the members. For adults may be more hesitant to participate in groups, may have preconceptions or reservations related to group treatment, and finally, adults are more likely to have created behavioral patterns that can be difficult to change, and it may take longer for them to learn new ways of behaving to replace those old patterns. As we move now to look at our final population, older adults, we actually enter our largest span, ranging from mid-60s all the way to 120 years of age. Older adults have not always received the attention that they deserve, and it's worth noting that this is a population that's growing. Mental health services are also growing to meet the needs of the population, but myths and stereotypes still threaten the services that older adults receive. Ageism, which is discrimination against older people, can lead to an attitude bias against working with older adults, despite the fact that older adults are often excellent candidates for service, especially group work. And psychoeducational groups may have great benefits for older adults who can experience problems associated with limited socialization and interpersonal activities, and can provide an opportunity for connection. Organizations like the AARP and the Gray Panthers provide groups that focus on issues dealing with universal health care, jobs with a living wage, and affordable housing. The groups can provide both meaning and service for older adults. Another example of psychoeducational groups for older adults exists for those who are not as physically able and require long-term care. Long-term care facilities may offer groups that are kept to about 8 to 12 members of similar cognitive ability and provide social and cognitive stimulation that can help members maintain a higher state of functioning than if they were without these services. Your authors also address 7 groups of counseling and psychotherapy groups for older adults. You can refer to page 3 to review these groups. Even if you do not intend to work directly with older adults in the future, becoming familiar with these different groups can enable you to provide helpful resources for your clients as they age, or for family members who might benefit from the services. As we think about setting up groups for older adults, you'll notice that with careful thought and consideration, a few important adjustments can increase the effectiveness of working with this population. All groups, the purpose of the group must be clear so that members can make an informed decision regarding participation. For older adults, group leaders should make clear the goals for the group and how members might benefit from participation. Membership criteria and screening procedures must also be clear so that leaders and members are intentional in how the group is formed. The physical environment is also worth mentioning when considering older adults. In all group work, the meeting room should be functional, quiet, and geared towards comfort. With older adults, an ideal location may be on the ground floor and is equipped with upholstered chairs, good lighting, space for wheelchairs, and near a restroom. You may also consider hearing impairment and adjust by keeping the group in a small circle. Scheduling is also important with older adults. Early evening and nights might be difficult for members who don't drive during these hours and prefer to go to bed early. By learning about member schedules, a convenient meeting time can be established and then maintained in order to maximize attendance. A final consideration relates to physical ability. Older adults may be more likely to experience physical disability or sensory impairment, both of which can contribute to social isolation.
What's going on with you?
Not too much. I just wanted to ask you some more in depth, like the questions I had asked you before. I just want to kind of go more in depth about them.
Definitely, yeah. What's going on with them?
I just need to know a little bit more, like just a little more detail.
Okay. Oh yeah, because we gave you all an outline on the end of that, isn't that?
Mm-hmm.
For the final paper?
Now the final, I'm not sure what the final is. Really, I need to look and see.
Oh, okay. That's what I thought your questions were about.
No, just one of the papers we have to do.
For which class then? Is it?
Practice one.
Oh, who's teaching that one?
Miss Nikita.
Okay. I've never taught that one before, so you would be asking somebody who's not.
It's just the same one from like last time, just like the agency thing.
Okay.
So like how when I asked you, like, can you describe what motivated you to apply for that position?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. So
A little more in depth about that one.
that's funny. Did she say that on her
Mm-hmm.
That's-
Because we had made it fast because you had another student to talk to.
Okay. All right. I thought you were going to ask about our papers and whatnot. Our
And
paper.
I'm asking about the final too.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I was going to try to pull that up. I was finishing our older adults PowerPoint, which I know you guys all have access to, but I always like to play it to start it off. And where is that? Oh yeah, special populations, older adults. So generalist practice 2. But yeah, you can ask those questions. Go right on ahead, and then I'll pull the paper up too, so you have that. Did she grade it hard because you weren't in depth enough?
She didn't grade it just yet. It's due tomorrow.
Okay.
But she was just explaining to us on Monday that we need to have it like
Okay. Well, let's make them in depth because a lot of stuff I did had group work, so it will relate back to group work here. There's the outline too. Okay, this is your final paper. So.
Okay. So on the first question, when you said you have worked at Hospice Crossroads. So what exactly is Hospice Crossroads?
They're one of the 13 hospices in the city of Cincinnati.
What's a hospice?
A hospice is an agency that helps families like on their way towards death and dying. They should have a website too. I wonder if you could steal it right from their website. Because yeah, that would give you like all the details that they do there. If my computer wasn't acting funny and I have to look at it here, I'd try to pull it for you, but hey Siri, what does a hospice do?
Here's what I found from NIH.gov. Hospice care focuses on the care, comfort,
Here's what I found
and
from
quality of life of a person with a serious illness who is approaching the end of life.
So yeah, that's the generic one, but it's like end of life, if you have 6 months less to live.
The next one. When you said you worked at Claremont Recovery Center, what's that?
Claremont Recovery Center is a addiction recovery place that allows folks that want to stop abusing drugs and alcohol can go for a rehabilitation process. If that answers the question.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what did you do at the Lighthouse Youth Services?
At Lighthouse, I would do family counseling, which included home visits, one approach called multidimensional family therapy, and sometimes case management, and then also trauma groups. So I would lead groups for trauma. Does she let you cite the websites? Because I bet that'll give you a thick paragraph, like bam, like right there.
Let's see, I'm trying to add that in there.
Okay. And you can cite them. Just it's lys.org, and then I know all of them should have a website. I want to see if I can.
So what did you like about, because when I had asked you, did the position meet your expectations? You said that it met your expectations because it was during the global pandemic. You had to see a lot of people that were dying because of coronavirus at the time. So what did you like about that?
Okay, so a lot of agencies or workplaces did have to shut down during the global pandemic, but we were one of the unique ones that actually had to work harder and work more often because there's people dying of coronavirus. So we had the chance to still work even though there was like a global shutdown. She's digging in on those. That's pretty good. She's like, what are you talking about? What's this? She's good.
So the next one you said, when I asked you, would you like best about your organization? You said that you liked how it was flexible on the call overnight for 24 hours, how you could do it once a month. What did you like about that? Like, why was that?
I was not looking for either full-time or even a part-time position. I probably only had, does she know this is me too? That's hilarious. Because we're teaching 5 days a week here, I'm able to work just once a month on a weekend and, still be a part of an agency, still use my license, still practice social work. It's not like I'm trying to work 2 jobs Monday through Friday at the same time. So it's one of those jobs that lets you have some flexibility and not work too much. Like some jobs are like, well, part-time is 20 hours a week. I don't have to do 20 hours a week. I do we're on call for 24 hours, but that's the most. You would only sit for 12 hours. That's the most you'll work in 1 month is sitting for 12. Oh boy. I got that down the wrong pipe.
So what is continuing education credit?
To keep your license, you have to do 30 every 2 years. So in social work, you have to do 15 continuing educations for every 2 years.
So it's like little courses online. It's like trauma and stuff. Miss Nikki was talking about that, like some stuff was like trauma and
those count. And then you always have to do ethics, and if you're a supervisor, you always have to do supervision.
Okay. Why do you think when I had asked you what will be the most challenging experiences for social work interns in your agency, you said the hardest would be for them to learn how to do the electronic health records and writing them notes. Why do you think that?
When I worked with students before, that's what they said was the hardest to learn. So you could work at an agency that doesn't have EHRs, but if they do, that's the hardest.
What do you think is hard about it?
Usually, it's just learning how to navigate the system. It's like when you switched from D2L over from Schoology. Remember how much of a pain in the ass that was?
Mhm.
And you're kind of getting it now, but it takes almost a whole semester to learn what you're doing. Like you don't know where to click, you don't know where the assignments are, you won't know where your notes have to be, you don't know where to find your client to write a note, you don't know how to submit it, all of that. It's just this, anytime you change, it's just a learning curve.
Then I had asked you what will be the most rewarding experience for them. You said that interns get paid the most, rather than that to say that social workers get paid the most at the agency compared to anywhere else. What do you mean by that?
Oh, at Crossroads Hospice. Social workers do get paid the most. Like an aide might get like 12, 15, 18 per hour, but a social worker gets $25 an hour.
The interns don't really get paid that much.
There's only one or two jobs that will pay you for being an intern. And they're always changing, so you'll have to ask Nikita. Are you doing it next year or next semester?
Next year.
Okay. Yeah, there's always only about one or two that'll pay
you. I asked you, do the agency have any staff on call? And you said, yeah, they have someone called PRN chaplains. What's that? Or you said PRN social workers. So what's that?
So PRN stands for per requested need. So when you're on call, that just means like they need you right now. So PRN is just a way of saying you're needed right now. PRN is usually like medical terminology, but it specifically stands for per requested need.
So when I had asked what are the service delivery strength and weaknesses of the agency, you said the weakness would be being on call 24 hours and how sometimes people commit different communications. Do you mean like sometimes they commit like when people call them?
I think so. I missed the last part you said, but like people, yeah, they don't pick up the phone if they're asleep. Is that what you were asking?
Yeah.
Yeah, like they'll get somebody ring them 10 times and they slept through it. So that's kind of a mess.
So I asked you what is the typical career path of social workers in this agency? And you said it seemed that a lot of social workers do stay around for a while and they say it's one of the most rewarding jobs they ever done.
That's
Go like more in depth on that.
I should ask why, as I've heard them all say that, and I actually don't know why they think that. But you don't have to get an independent license. So people love that you start at $50,000 a year with your master's, and they found out last week our main social worker got a 20% raise. So a lot of the hospices are paying $60,000, and you don't need an independent license. Usually you need to get an independent license to make that much money. So it's both monetarily rewarding, people like the job they do, and hopefully that's enough in depth for you. Maybe Nikita's thinking about doing hospice.
Good idea.
I know. Just like as a weekend job,
Yeah.
if you need it.
So when I asked, if you could suggest some activity readings that I should be familiar with now, what was it? Yeah, some activity/readings that you should be familiar with now as you prepare to become a social worker intern. You said, you should know the code of ethics and to look out for some blogs online that some students put up during their field practice experience. Where would you find some of that stuff at?
The code of ethics is on the NASW website. Did you ask these two? That's hilarious. And then the blogs are actually, it was the girl that I used to play for you guys when you go into, let's say, YouTube. If you want her actual YouTube channel. If it works for us today. Let's just do social work, because I feel like she comes up right when you just type social work into YouTube. And she is, I can't tell if it's searching or not. Does our internet stink? Did you already know the NASW Code of Ethics is on the NASW website?
Yeah.
I guess their blog and YouTube channel is on YouTube. I don't know where to find. It's actually in our old classes when I would show it to you guys. It's not coming up for me today.
It's okay if you can't find it though.
Yeah, there's Monika Thomas. She's one. 7 Truths About Being a Social Worker. There's also Kimmy B on YouTube. There is. Oh yeah, the most popular one I've seen is called Social Work Scrapbook on YouTube. So those are the 3.
Do you think that knowing yourself personally and professionally would be helpful to your social intern?
Absolutely.
Why do you think that?
Because you know when to say, I need self-care. And if you don't know yourself, you'll never know when to say, like, I need a break. Wow, definitely lost my voice. So she asked all these questions on your one paper. Dang on, that's legit.
Yeah, she went detail.
I know. Because that was a pretty thick write-up of a paper, too.
Yeah.
For real.
I think that was all the questions for that one.
Sweet. See, we knocked it out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll finish this and then we can just do the final paper so we can call it. There's only 2 left. So, and that's the final paper.
As we think about setting up groups for older adults, you'll notice that with careful thought and consideration, a few important adjustments can increase the effectiveness of working with this population. All groups, the purpose of the group must be clear so that members can make an informed decision regarding participation. For older adults, group leaders should make clear the goals for the group and how members might benefit from participation. Membership criteria and screening procedures must also be clear so that leaders and members are intentional in how the group is formed. The physical environment is also worth mentioning when considering older adults. In all group work, the meeting room should be functional, quiet, and geared towards comfort. With older adults, an ideal location may be on the ground floor and is equipped with upholstered chairs, good lighting, space for wheelchairs, and near a restroom. You may also consider hearing impairment and adjust by keeping the group in a small circle. Scheduling is also important with older adults. Early evening and nights might be difficult for members who don't drive during these hours and prefer to go to bed early. By learning about member schedules, a convenient meeting time can be established and then maintained in order to maximize attendance. A final consideration relates to physical ability. Older adults may be more likely to experience physical disability or sensory impairment, both of which can contribute to social isolation. Including a warm-up activity or some kind of brief informational presentation before the group can help members get comfortable and become familiar with the group's focus for the day. Generally, groups for older adults tend to be smaller in size, about 4 to 8 members, and are encouraged to socialize outside of the group context as a way to help break down social barriers that may serve to isolate them. A few quick words about the role of the leader when working with older adults. Leaders must realize that the pace when working with this population may be a bit slower, and the goals may be more limited than for most other groups. Group leaders must maintain an accepting, patient, and positive attitude, reinforcing change and encouraging participation. On the age and health of members, long-term goals may not be appropriate, and instead leaders can encourage members to develop and strive towards short-term goals and objectives. Leaders can rely on all of the skills that we've previously discussed and may be well served to attend to certain key issues like religion, economics, intergenerational conflict within families, and loss, all of which are common themes with older age groups. Remaining sensitive to issues of aging and death, leaders must come to terms. Adulthood between early 20s and mid-60s is a time characterized by many problems and possibilities, and group work individuals in all stages of adulthood to clarify their focus and maximize their potential. Group work with older adults is still a relatively young field and is increasing in response to a more full understanding of this growing population. Setting up a group for older adults depends on the member's needs, and some minor adjustments can promote a more comfortable and effective experience for the members. Finally, as with many issues, group leaders must consider their own prejudices related to age, aging, and death in order to best serve our clients. Irvin Yalom, who is the author of The Schopenhauer Cure, has written extensively, and I would recommend another one of his titles, The Gift of Therapy, which provides a lot of great information for beginning therapists, and specifically a good deal of wisdom related to death and dying. I encourage you to look it up. This concludes our lecture on groups for adults and older adults listening.
So perfect timing to use her as I lose my voice. But leading groups for older adults, same things that we learned in our original social work classes, like when working with older populations and trying to find ways to serve them and meet their needs. Now you may be creating a group for an older adult, but I feel like you're going to do something like with Girls Circle, is what I'm guessing. What questions do you have about it?
I just wanted to know, like, the whole concept of the paper.
Okay. So when you go in to turn it in, we have the outline. So best instructions here are that it is going to be 8 to 12 page paper, and you could just follow these headings. So you'll be basically
One detail.
It is, yeah. And so that's the outline, and you'll be covering, starting out with conceptualization. So your title, like whatever group, it could be a proposal for a support group for elderly women experiencing grief over loss. If yours is about Girls Circle, you can add that into it.
So I can Okay, so the paper is basically the girls group again?
Well, it would be you would, if you're doing girls group, you want to cite the heck out of it, but it's a group proposal. So you're proposing a group, and then sometimes people add in to get extra credit, like a grant that they found that could fund the group, and it goes through all of these. So like 1 or 2 paragraphs, you're understanding the range of psychosocial concerns or themes that are related to the primary problem. Select several for the purposes of developing a social work group. Explain your rationale for selection. It's almost like as in depth as Nikita wanted you to go on that paper that we're going through. But so, and then the next section is past group treatment interventions. So maybe you'll find an article or 2 and have 4 paragraphs. So summarize articles of group treatment interventions that have been used effectively in the past with your chosen group, if it's teenage girls or adolescent girls, the primary problem you're addressing. Describe the relevancy of each article discussed to the current group proposal. What has been in the past that may contribute to the development of the group you propose. The section should make 2 to 4 different references of the literature. So going into like scholar.google.com and finding some of that stuff. Type of group. So it will be indicating the specific type of group that you have being proposed. And then explain, those are both in the PowerPoints that are in D2L and in our book. So Toslin, explain the rationale for the selection, the type of group chosen should be able to address the significance of psychosocial themes or concerns indicated above. What's the overall purpose of your group? So each one is like a new section. And, you know, if you're going with Girl Circle, maybe working with adolescent teen girls.
I know you were saying how when we had the presentation, you said how we can interpret that into our paper.
Right. Yeah. Because that could be a part, like you did 1 week of the 10 weeks worth of a group.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are going to write about Girl Circle, like you've got all the citations there, and then maybe get some new relevant literature, why it's good and why it helps. And yes, I mean, to fill in 8 to 12 pages, it's certainly a lot, but like, you know, the goals, how you're going to implement it, what that looks like, the agency, it could be Lighthouse Youth Services, because that's where they did that group before. Membership, so breaking down how you can be a member, like this is start to finish for a group. Plan for membership recruitment, duration, so I think that one's only 10 or 12 weeks. The activities, which you do have, so just, yeah, definitely cite the head. You know, if you're using Girl Circle, just cite, you know, don't plagiarize anything. Discuss plans for termination, like how you're finishing it, and then evaluating it, essentially. So that is start to finish, and that's why I gave it to you guys now, and you're early, so you can work on it all through break if you have to.
Okay, so I'm just trying to figure out, like, okay, so it's about a group. So can we make up a group?
You could, yeah, if you're that good. You still want to have citations and relevant literature and all that stuff too.
Okay. But if we don't want to use Girl Circle, we can just like go online and look up group work.
You could, again, you would still want to cite them too, but yeah, I mean, it's, so the permits the application of group work methods in many social service settings. It addresses service needs of the diverse client population. So you are the aspiring professional social worker, and you'll develop competence in planning and implementing various forms of groups. Have you ever done one at like a camp or something too, or it's like a day camp during the summer, or that's an example of one. But the purpose of this assignment is to acquaint students with the process of conceptualizing a social work group, as might be the form of social work service delivery in a given setting. The following serves as a guideline for this assignment. And so, yeah, you follow that outline and you cover those, and it even tells you like how many paragraphs, you'll be good. And that's, yeah, you can do your own group.
Okay.
Or if it's something you find online, like hopefully they have literature for you too.
Okay, so what should I look up online?
What were you looking for?
I'm not really even sure. Because I know you gave an example, like for title, you said proposal for support group for an elderly woman experiencing grief over significant loss.
Mm-hmm.
That's a hard title right there.
Right, that's an example of a title. Yeah, that's just an example.
So I could do like a support group for like women, who've experienced, abuse from their husbands?
You absolutely could. Yes. And what's cool is if it's something you're interested in, you're more likely to write and dig into the research and like enjoy it. You know what I mean? That way it's not a task and you might use it in future agencies. Like if you want to go work at a domestic violence shelter, that might be helpful to have a group that's already prepared. Like when you interview, like, hey, I created this group. I'd like to use it.
Okay. So can you kind of like give me some more examples of some support groups? Like, it's like AA meetings and them like support groups?
For alcoholism and addiction, those would definitely be, yeah. But for domestic violence, I don't know. That's not my specialty area, so I don't know what. I mean, you would be maybe creating one that's never been in existence before, too. So you're creating from start to finish what that support would look like for these women that have been abused.
Okay. Mm. When is this paper due again?
I am letting you guys turn it in like the week before final exams, so you don't have to like stress about it during final exams. So basically, like the first week of December.
Okay, and you said 8 to 12 pages?
That's what is listed in the syllabus, and yeah, again, we're going to train you guys on accreditation questions. But like, there's some things you have to do. If we don't have this, we don't stay accredited. So this is like what every social work school does. Which is cool to know is when you go to graduate school, they've all had the same background of education. So maybe not someone as good as Nikita that asked you a question on every paragraph that you wrote on your paper. That's pretty good. That's impressive. I like that.
Yeah, she wants detail.
I know, yeah. I'm definitely impressed because, you know, that's what makes you a good social worker.
All in,